Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here, and let's wake up those football gods this morning. It is Taco Tuesday, and I hope all your taco dreams come true on this Taco Tuesday. And for the Dallas Cowboys, it's another day off. Tomorrow they get back on the practice field, getting ready for the New York stinking Giants. Program note tonight, sometime tonight I will be on a NFC East Palooza with the Eagle fan named Chip, Bad Dog, and Rio, and we're going to give the state of the NFC East. And you know what? It may be time to bitch slap Bad Dog a little bit, because Bad Dog, well, he's had a rough way to go. He's had a hard way to go, but we're going to go ahead and enjoy ourselves tonight with that. So I think that's going to be sometime around 9 o'clock or so, but I'll let you guys know later on. For our Dallas Cowboys, the good news is, knock on wood, and I hope I don't jinx it, the Cowboys have not sustained the last 2 weeks in games major injuries. In fact, Amari Cooper says he's feeling a whole lot better than where he was with the cracked ribs. He's coming along, and we'll be getting Keanu Neal and Carlos Watkins back on the defense, a defense which has surprised many, many teams. Now, there's 5 degrees of separation. 5 degrees of separation, which basically states that everybody is within 5 people of everybody else. And we can also kind of apply that logic with, say, football. Right now, everybody is going gaga over the Chargers. People are saying the Chargers are the best team in the AFC, that, you know, that Kansas City's got some issues at 2-2, but that the Chargers with Justin Herbert, and oh my God, Justin Herbert, he is like God. You know, he's a generational player. Now, keep in mind, we just hit October. The team's real identities are beginning to come to the surface. There were some that looked really great and so on. Other ones that looked, you know, not so good but have come on. Others that we thought were going to be ass. You know, and for example, some teams that we thought were going to be real good, or at least Mike Greenberg did, really aren't in teams like the Washington football team. Washington's defense that everybody thought was going to be so stout, so tough, so impossible to run with, and that Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to be Tom Brady, well, that so far hasn't come true. Doesn't mean that there's not time to turn that around. It's very, very possible, because I look at the Washington defense and say there's something just not right in there. They looked like the Dallas Cowboys of last year, which were dazed and confused. That was our defense last year. Guys were literally trying to figure out, what's my assignment as we're standing out here? They were confused on what to do. Right now, there doesn't appear to be any confusion, that guys literally know where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to do, and are doing it pretty well, which is why we are second in the NFL in taking the football away. And we found out that we have some dogs. So back to the Chargers. Going into last night, there was a love fest for Derek Carr. Oh, my God, Derek Carr. He's an MVP candidate. The Raiders, they're for real. John Gruden has finally got his guy. And here it is, little Joey Bosa got out there and he said, and I quote, "We knew we could rattle Derek Carr. If you smack him a couple of times, he's not going to be the same guy." And that was true. They rattled the hell out of him. They went through and they kicked his ass. You looked at the Chargers, and they were up 21-0 at the half, and you're like, oh, my God. The Chargers are for real. The Chargers are tied with the best record in the AFC at 3-1. Wow. What team was the one team that beat them in their house? Oh, the Dallas Cowboys. Interesting. That Joey Bosa, who ended up rattling Derek Carr, that veteran quarterback, you know he went against Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele, our second year undrafted free agent tackle that people said throw him off a bridge. You know, that Terrence Steele shut down little Joey Bosa to no pressures, no hurries, and no sacks. Yeah. So that should actually say a lot about where the Dallas Cowboys are as a team, that we took care of business against the Chargers, a team that they're now pumping up to be a Super Bowl contender. Now, I am trying not to get ahead of myself. Right square in front of me is the New York Giants, and right now the Giants are standing on the train track, and we're the train coming down the rails. That's the only thing I'm concerned with, is knocking the Giants off the train tracks. We'll deal with the other teams and all that, but you know how it's going to go. The expectations are now going to be there, and the expectations are building blocks for resentment. Because when you think you're going to get something and you fall short of it, all of a sudden you're disappointed. So I'd rather not put those expectations out there. However, you have to look at the Dallas Cowboys from the standpoint of right now having something that they haven't had in a long time. And that is a completely balanced offense that can beat you in a multitude of ways. Loaded offense, I might say. Not having just one great runner, but having a second really good one. 2,000-yard rushers on pace right now. A quarterback who can get the ball anywhere. He can make every type of throw. Wide receivers that get open, that just literally confound a defense. And an offensive line that is playing all world again. This offensive line currently, and that's not to say it's going to be the whole season, is playing like it did at 2016, which was the pinnacle. All of those things say great offense. But the Cowboys have had great offenses before, but unfortunately have other sides of the ball that weren't. A defense that couldn't get off the field, a defense that couldn't buy a takeaway, a defense that couldn't stop a drive and get you an opportunity at the end of games to win. Well, right now we have an opportunistic defense that is getting the ball away, that is giving extra opportunities for the offense, that is forcing the other team into turnovers. And I don't like this narrative that people are like, oh, well, the Cowboys are only good because they're, getting takeaways, like they are a charity gift. The reason they're getting these is because they're fast, they're physical, they're hitting, and they're forcing the quarterback to throw the ball before he's ready, or they're molesting him with hitting him on his arm or his body as he's throwing, or great coverage like Diggs is that's saying, that ball, it's my ball. He's out there, get me the ball. Or a defensive front that's putting pressure on the quarterback and getting him off the block and making him feel uncomfortable. That's the reason why you get turnovers. And the reason you got them was because of what the defense was doing. So stop this underrating what the defense is doing because they get takeaways. Nobody did that to Seattle when they were number one in defense and taking the ball away more than anybody else. So stop doing it to the Cowboys. But more than anything, the crazy thing for the Dallas Cowboys is after signing Dak Prescott, and people said, oh, well, you signed Dak, you can't field a team. Even Stephen Jones, you got to leave some money on the table for other players. Well, they signed Dak Prescott, and they found good players between the draft and free agency with guys that are trying to get a second chance and get that second contract. The Cowboys have weathered the storm of losing top-flight players for games, from Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, Keanu Neal, Carlos Watkins, Donovan Wilson, Michael Gallup. Most teams lose that kind of starters. Their season is in the tank. But the Cowboys have become loaded with depth, much like they did in the 90s. Now, I do want to play something here this morning. This is actually from Get Up. They have a lot of NFL clips in it, so I don't want to actually show it because the YouTube and NFL police will get it. But I just want you to listen to this take on the Dallas Cowboys this morning.
As the morning continues. Last stop, your old stomping grounds of Dallas. Mike McCarthy commenting on the Cowboys' hot start to the season. Here's what he said.
We're building a foundation for the success that we want to have this year, and we're off to a pretty good start with a 3-1 record. I like where we are. I can tell you, compared to last year.
Yeah, that's what he said. Swagoo, what does Swagoo say?
Y'all, I'm just trying to hold on and not be the reason we lose. Okay, that's what Mike McCarthy is saying. And the second thing is, when you listen to Mike McCarthy is like, please, Lord, let these offensive coordinators and these defensive coordinators and all of these guys that can see the damn clock not make these mistakes. Because if I hold the Dallas Cowboys back from winning the Super Bowl, I will never step foot on the sideline again. It was a preamble to Mike McCarthy's fear.
It's a point extremely well made. Let me come over here and get the group in, because the Cowboys and the Super Bowl has actually become a conversation that feels sort of real, and we can sort of dive into all the reasons why. Let's start with the offensive line, your area of expertise. How good are they?
As good as they were in 2016 when Dak started. That's saying something. This team has been as efficient on offense because of what their offensive line has been able to do. You saw it. They started in Tampa where they pretended they weren't worried about the run. Then Kellen Moore has developed this thing. This rushing attack is the most balanced offense in the NFL right now.
And then Dominique, let's talk about the defense.
I mean, that's the real surprise of the season, how well they're playing, how good Randy Gregory is up front. And I know Diggs has 5 interceptions in 4 games, but Anthony Brown on the other side is locking down too. This team is incredible. We haven't even mentioned the rookie, Micah Parsons, who might be the defensive rookie of the year. So this defense is just starting. Like, they're going to get better as the season goes along. It's a real Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, again,
Super Bowl contender. Super Bowl. Did he say Super Bowl contender?
They can beat you throwing the ball, and then the defense just had to get from bottom of the barrel to middle of the pack, and they seem to have at least done that. Think about this too. They're in the NFC East. Like, they may not end up being the NFC's best team, but they could still end up with the best record based on schedule, and that would give them the number 1 seed, and there's only 1 bye per conference. Yeah, and the Giants have only 1 win. Washington has been an enormous disappointment to many, particularly to me. If you watch the show, the Eagles have a long way to go. And so, yes, the Cowboys could run away and hide. And so, let me finish it up with you.
Here we go. Tears of joy. Those are tears of joy.
What do we got, Marcus?
Go ahead, G. Ask the question, man. Go ahead.
What the question is, how about them Cowboys?
Brother, let me tell you something. I'm not going to play the I told you so game because it's early in the season. And I still have a few concerns from a defensive standpoint. If the turnovers aren't coming in droves, can they consistently stop people? But, G, they look like Super Bowl contenders, man. And I can say this for the first time in real life. This is the first time outside of 2016 when that offensive line was bludgeoning people, I could actually say this. This is fantastic to watch, man. This is when you make the right hire. This is when you come in with a plan and you see guys implement that. This is when you see the development of an offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore and a quarterback that are on the same page. Like, beyond actually what's happening on the football field outside of Mike McCarthy not being able to manage the damn clock, this coaching staff has done a tremendous job. Outside of him, I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna give Mike McCarthy credit too, because he has a lot to do with this as well. But when you look at the way this team is playing, everybody understands what they're being asked to do. And that's the first initial start. I screamed it last year. When we saw this Dallas Cowboy team outside of offense that was injury riddled, the defense had no idea what they were doing. I went through games last year where before the play, and Foxy knows this being a guy that played on the back end, before a lot of plays, I watched over 90 times where the secondary guys was doing this right up to the snap. Yes. What we doing? What we doing? Hey, somebody tell me. And those are the type of things that I started to pay attention to last year. And I'm like, look, man, yeah, they look bad and they look terrible and they look poor on defense. But you damn sure ain't going to play defense if you don't know what to do. So I just think this team they kind of control their own narrative, and that's what I like about how they roll it right now.
And can I throw one more name into this that hasn't been mentioned yet? And that is
Jerry Jones, because for all of the criticism he has received as the person running the football piece of the football operation here, and much of it justified, they've gotten very good at a lot of things. They've drafted well. They brought in Dan Quinn. They've developed Dak Prescott from a fourth-round pick that not too many people thought was going to be a star NFL quarterback to a guy right now who's probably a top 3 quarterback in the league. They've done the little things.
Top 3 quarterback?
How well they've built this team. So when you have the conversation that we have about a lot of quarterbacks, like, are we going to pay this quarterback? People say, well, we can't pay the quarterback because then we won't be able to build a team around him. No, it just means that now you need to find value elsewhere. When you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, you can spend money elsewhere. Once he gets out of that rookie deal, you're to find value elsewhere, and Jerry Jones has done it. You can look at the last couple drafts, and they've nailed their early picks.
Right. CeeDee Lamb in the first round because they had a high rank on him and he fell to them.
Diggs.
But they got Trevon Diggs in the second round, and now he's one of the stars of the defense. And then, of course, this year with Parsons, they trade down. Right, exactly. And still getting the guy they want. They've been a good drafting team for a while, honestly. It's just coming together.
The Dallas Cowboys, who have traditionally been all that sizzle, and you wonder about the steak, suddenly the steak seems to be there. Right, Jeff? Final word. They seem to have the steak and the sizzle.
That really could be their best team in the NFC right now. I mean, look at the way they tell. We talked about the balance on offense. We talked
best
about the
team in the NFC?
And call them takeaways because they're not giveaways. They are takeaways. They are breaking on balls. They are playing like their hair is on fire on the backside of that defense. That is a big deal, and that separates teams as the season goes on.
Absolutely. All right, we'll have much more on all the NFC.
Okay. Wow. Praise from ESPN that literally trashed the Dallas Cowboys before, and now they're saying they're Super Bowl contenders and best team in the NFC. We'll see. Best team this week. How about that? Jerry Jones just said a few minutes ago on The Fan, talking about Micah Parsons, by the way, speaking of building a team, the best way is through the draft, regardless of what Colin Cowherd will tell you that, the Rams, of course, they go out and they get free agents where the Cowboys get stuck with their own guys because they draft well. Jerry Jones said, Micah Parsons, I like him in the place that gets defensive pressure. Jones added that the 12th overall pick was too high for a linebacker, but not too high, though, for a pressure player, and we thought he was the best pressure player in the draft. And, sometimes you end up making decisions like that, and they blow up in your face. People said you don't draft Zeke Elliott, that high, the number 4 pick. But Zeke Elliott has been everything that you wanted. You look at the Giants. They end up trying the same thing with Barkley. And thus far, you look at Barkley has not paid dividends. Everything you do in the NFL is a risk. And I'm going to end this morning on this one because when you listen to Mike Greenberg here praising and talking about the Washington football team, maybe he just got the wrong team.
So much attention all year round that it is hard to imagine it could ever have a secret as well kept as the Washington football team is headed into this year. Caesars has them at 25-1 to win the NFC. Even Vegas doesn't see this as coming, and it is. The formula is there, and it's proven. Recently, they are the 49ers of 2 years ago. Start with the quarterback, who has been far more magic than tragic of late. These are the numbers. The last 3 seasons, Ryan Fitzpatrick has a higher completion percentage than Tom Brady. He has a higher touchdown percentage than Dak Prescott. He has a higher QBR than Deshaun Watson. He's been very good, and his new team is sneaky loaded. It won an admittedly bad division last year with the worst quarterback play in the sport. They were 32nd out of 32 teams. The top receiver is a stud. You barely know him. His name is 25-year-old Terry McLaurin. He has more than 2,000 yards in 2 seasons, playing with Dwayne Haskins, Case Keenum, Alex Smith, Kyle Allen, and Colt McCoy. The running back is 23-year-old Antonio Gibson. He had over 1,000 yards from scrimmage and 11 touchdowns, starting just 10 games as a rookie. And the defense? It may very well be the best in the entire sport. They had the best pass rush in the league the second half of last season. They sacked Tom Brady 3 times in a playoff game. He was only sacked 3 more times total in the 3 playoff games that followed. And then finally, the coach, he's a winner. Ron Rivera won the division last year while battling cancer and made the playoffs 4 times in 5 years in Carolina. So again, the formula, good enough quarterback play, dominant defensive line, coach who knows how to win. That was San Francisco 2 seasons ago, and that team wound up in the Super Bowl. So if this one does that at the end of this year, just remember, you absolutely should have seen it coming.
Yeah. Well, you can apply those same traits. you've got more than a good enough quarterback. You have a top 3 quarterback. You got a defense that's opportunistic, that's taking away the football, and a coach, a coach who's won a Super Bowl, who seems to have some great coordinators that are there. We'll see how it all works out, but the expectations are now there for the Dallas Cowboys to be a Super Bowl contender. As always, you know how we roll.
Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is